Let's start with respect. This is not entertainment, this is reality. Most people move through life repeating the same behaviors, filling their days with activity, yet never producing meaningful change. They stay occupied, but they do not advance. So pause for a moment and answer honestly in the comments. Where are you watching from? New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, London, or somewhere else? Location matters less than awareness, but awareness must begin somewhere. Human behavior favors ease over evolution. Patterns develop quietly. Habits lock in before you consciously recognize them. Long before a decision feels deliberate, the outcome has already been shaped. Every ignored choice, every tolerated delay, every moment of avoidance compounds into loss that cannot be recovered. Time moves forward without negotiation. Consequences stack silently, and the version of life you imagine slowly drifts out of reach. This is not motivation. It is an internal alert. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why progress has stalled and which internal mechanisms keep you anchored in place. Most people undermine their own success long before the world ever has a chance to. Not because they are careless, not because they intend to fail, but because they remain loyal to familiar patterns that feel safe, even when those patterns guarantee stagnation. The brain mistakes familiarity for protection. Each hesitation, each delay, each subtle act of avoidance is regulated by a nervous system conditioned to preserve what already exists. When opportunity appears, it is interpreted as danger, not consciously, not logically, but instinctively. The body tightens, the mind resists, action slows, advancement is quietly declined. People retreat without realizing it. They negotiate internally. Comfort is weighed against growth. Internal debates are constructed to justify withdrawal. They tell themselves the timing is off, that preparation is incomplete, that the risk outweighs the reward. These explanations are rehearsed, repeated, stored. They become automatic scripts. The individual does not recognize the script running. They believe external circumstances are responsible for the lack of progress. But the real obstruction lives internally, inside thinking patterns that prioritize ease, inside habitual resistance to discomfort, the very discomfort required for transformation. The sabotage is subtle, invisible, consistent. It shows up as procrastination, as hesitation, as endless reconsideration, as quiet resistance to execution. Rarely does the outside world notice. Often the individual does not acknowledge it either. Yet it exists in every unfinished project, every abandoned plan, every opportunity never pursued. Recognizing this is the entry point to change. Awareness comes before correction. The mind must be observed calmly, precisely, without judgment, without urgency, without emotional escalation. Only then can the system begin to separate real danger from false threat generated by inertia. This process is not dramatic, it is systematic. It starts with quiet self-examination, asking difficult questions, monitoring reactions, noticing where fear overrides logic, watching comfort displace ambition, identifying where identity clashes with desired outcomes, observing how behavior follows habit even when goals point elsewhere. The mind does not respond to shouting, it responds to retraining. The nervous system must learn that what once felt threatening is now acceptable. Change begins with repeated actions that contradict old defaults. Choosing discomfort consistently teaches the brain tolerance. Repetition converts threat into neutrality. Neutrality becomes opportunity. Sabotage weakens when it is identified, analyzed, and confronted deliberately. Awareness alone is not enough. Observation must translate into action. Small actions accumulate. Over time, they override years of self-protection. Precision matters. Consistency matters. Refusing to negotiate with the internal saboteur matters. Momentum is created through repetition, not inspiration. As repetition continues, standards shift. The nervous system recalibrates toward execution instead of avoidance. Internal conflict softens, becomes predictable, manageable. The success once disrupted by self-sabotage becomes reachable gradually, intentionally, through disciplined attention to internal signals. Comfort is discipline's quiet assassin. It never announces itself. It does not arrive with urgency. It infiltrates gently. The brain seeks equilibrium, and comfort offers the fastest route. Every indulgence, every postponement, every distraction strengthens neural pathways that favor ease. Discipline requires the opposite. It requires consistent exposure to discomfort, repeated engagement with tension, commitment when instinct demands retreat. Comfort whispers, later, not now. Wait. It erodes decisions without confrontation. Most failures are not caused by lack of ability. They result from repeated surrender to comfort. The mind rationalizes, the ego negotiates, the body complies. Each time this happens, discipline weakens, potential drifts further away. To counter this, awareness must be exact. Each moment of yielding must be noticed, without shame, without drama. Observation separates instinct from intention, habit from choice, reaction from decision. Once seen, comfort loses authority. The cost of indulgence becomes clear. The nervous system links short-term ease with long-term loss. Discipline becomes conditioned, built incrementally. Resistance to comfort is not heroic. It is methodical, structured, precise. It does not rely on fluctuating willpower. It relies on redesigned behavior. The mind learns to tolerate discomfort until it becomes normal. Effort becomes neutral. Fear diminishes. Over time, internal conflict fades. Discipline stops feeling like combat. It becomes automatic. Consistency replaces negotiation. Comfort no longer governs behavior unconsciously. It becomes optional. Performance aligns with capacity. Identity shifts to support execution. Growth becomes stable, predictable, structural. Results rarely fail because of skill. They fail because of identity. Skill can be learned, measured, improved. Identity operates beneath awareness. It directs behavior before conscious thought appears. People train, study, practice, absorb strategies, yet outcomes remain inconsistent. Progress stalls. They blame technique, timing, circumstance. Rarely do they inspect the internal framework beneath action. Identity reveals itself in unconscious choices, in moments where discipline collapses, in tolerance for mediocrity, in rationalized retreat. These patterns decide outcomes. A person can act daily and still remain stagnant if identity is misaligned. Consistency without congruence produces nothing. Skill enables performance. Identity determines persistence. Without adjusting identity, strategies fail. Techniques decay. The system protects the familiar. Observation is the entry point. Tracking behavior, identifying recurring reactions, naming beliefs that sustain failure. Awareness separates intention from habit. Once recognized, deliberate change becomes possible. Repetition reshapes identity. The nervous system adapts. Discipline becomes natural. Execution aligns with ambition. Skill finally expresses. Results follow. Waiting to feel ready ensures stagnation. Readiness is unreliable, emotional, temporary. The mind uses it as a barrier. Fear is framed as caution, doubt as wisdom, discomfort as warning. People obey these signals, they delay. Days become months. Momentum evaporates. Confidence weakens. The system learns that hesitation equals safety. Readiness does not precede action, it emerges from it. Acting under discomfort trains tolerance. Waiting trains avoidance. Preparation is measurable. Planning is visible. Readiness is emotional noise. If action waits on feeling, life is postponed indefinitely. Opportunity does not wait for alignment. Acting despite resistance rewires the system. Movement teaches safety. Each step reduces fear. Each decision strengthens identity. Waiting embeds paralysis. Action embeds expansion. Readiness is a consequence, not a requirement. Fear of success often outweighs fear of failure. Success implies exposure, expectation, change. The nervous system interprets expansion as risk. Effort is subconsciously restrained. Opportunity is preemptively sabotaged. Growth threatens identity. Awareness exposes this. Repetition retrains it. Overthinking is procrastination disguised as intelligence. Endless analysis delays execution. The system avoids discomfort by simulating control. Action dissolves overthinking. Feedback replaces speculation. Momentum restores. Environment programs behavior. Context shapes limits. Surroundings signal standards. Toxic environments normalize stagnation. Progress requires contextual alignment. Change environment. Change outcomes. Same inputs produce the same life. Change requires interruption, new behaviors, new signals, new standards. Repetition consolidates identity. Growth becomes structural. You have now seen the patterns, the quiet sabotage, the comfort, the excuses, the hesitation, the environments. These systems run results automatically. This moment matters because it is where the loop breaks or continues. No one else will intervene. Responsibility replaces blame. Every decision from here forward rewires or reinforces. This is what we break down on Marian Thinks. Not motivation, awareness. Observe excuses. Act through fear. Interrupt patterns. Rebuild identity. Momentum follows precision. The choice is yours. It begins now. Thank you for staying engaged. Thank you for choosing clarity. Subscribe if you want structured insight into how the mind shapes outcomes. No hype, no noise, just control, awareness, and the discipline required for real change.